How do legislators and policymakers decide which policies to endorse and implement? This can be broken down into two questions. First, how do they make decisions, considering the political environment? And second, how should they make decisions, which involve using all possible data directly or even tangentially relevant, and using quantitative models? Three dominant models which respond to both questions are the rational comprehensive theory, the incremental theory, and the mixed scanning theory. The rational comprehensive theory, not to be confused with rational choice theory, focuses on maximizing the aggregate benefits sought while minimizing the aggregate cost. What distinguishes this model from the rational choice model, see Module 1, is the word aggregate. Aggregate benefits may include equality along with increased income. Consider the following example. The outcome of policy A is that one individual receives $1,000 and the other 9 individuals receive $0. The aggregate or sum receives $1,000 and great disparity. The outcome of policy B is that all 10 individuals receive $99. The aggregate receives $990 and absolute equality, no disparity. There are two goals here. First, maximizing the money received by the aggregate, in which case policy A is superior to policy B, 1,000 versus 990. Second, maximizing equality, in which case policy B is superior to policy A. Which is the preferable policy? The $10 increase in aggregate benefit does not appear to be worth the cost of having great disparity. Defined within the model are the acceptable trade-offs. Much of this model borrows heavily from economic models, linear and nonlinear optimization, and social choice theory, all very technical models and approaches. The rational comprehensive theory makes a number of assumptions, including the following. A sufficient amount of information is known. All alternatives are considered. The goals are understood. If there are multiple goals, they can be ranked. We want low unemployment and low inflation, but if we need to choose, we prefer inflation over unemployment. What are the acceptable trade-offs? The problem addressed can be considered apart from other problems. The assumption is that addressing one problem, such as eliminating poverty, does not affect attempts to solve another problem, like the economy. All the players are known and all their cost and benefits of the policy can be quantified. This model is highly criticized because most of these assumptions cannot be fulfilled. For example, most policies cannot be isolated. That is, one policy nearly always affects other policies. Reducing pollution might be at the expense of the economy and employment. On the one hand, reducing pollution will benefit one's health. On the other hand, if a factory is closed down because new pollution regulations create a negative profit for the factory and workers lose their health insurance. Overall, his health suffers from the imposed policy intended to improve his health. For more criticism, see Anderson, 2011, page 128. In an ideal world where policymakers and legislators have unlimited access to information, the rational comprehensive model will serve well. But the complexities of the set of all policies are so great that there is a limited time to make decisions. This model is less than ideal to implement. A more feasible approach is based on the incremental theory. This theory or model recommends, as the name suggests, slow change. From year to year, little changes may best direct the policies to their goals. American governments have adopted this approach for 3 reasons. First, Congress and most state legislatures are somewhat conservative when compared to more progressive countries in that they are resistant to great change. Second, most incremental changes are accepted or at least tolerated by legislators and the public. That is, there is no threat of mass protest or revolution. Third, Congress has little time to introduce new policies each session. Hence, only small adjustments to policies are made. If changes do not yield positive results, then the negative results are minor. Indeed, Congress and the President can only afford to make one or two radical changes. For example, upon assuming the presidency, Obama had only two major goals: pass universal health care and fix the economy. The second goal could not be ignored, and the first goal he wanted to be his legacy. He recognized that achieving universal health care would require all his political capital. That is, after passing universal health care, he could do little more. Even the policy that he passed was more conservative in that it was not a single-payer national health care. Consider how the budget is planned. Most of the congressional debate is over 3 to 5% of the budget, over increases or decreases to agencies and a handful of new programs. The budgets of most agencies are not seriously considered. Incrementalism serves the budget well. The spending of an agency will not change much from year to year, so why should there be much debate or investigation on their spending? When, however, bold action must take place to respond to a serious problem, incrementalism may lead to disaster. For example, during the Great Depression, bold policies were necessary. President Herbert Hoover responded, but his actions were not effectively bold. That is, his policies were too little too late. People were unemployed, homeless, and starving. Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal was a package of bold policies. For example, Roosevelt declared a bank holiday, closing down the banks until investigators could determine which banks were sound. This action restored some confidence in the banks. President Johnson recognized that incrementalism failed to adequately respond to poverty and civil rights. He took bold action by pushing through 2 civil rights acts and creating the Great Society, which included the War on Poverty. Martin Luther King Jr. argued against incrementalism when he was urged by politicians and clergymen to slow his efforts to change the plight of African Americans. They argued that such changes take time. King retorted, "We have waited for more than 340 years for our constitutional and God-given rights."